Welcome acolytes, today I am reacting to the video of Rave Says with the title "This will destroy anime and must be stopped." Well, something new against anime, and I don't like it already. Why? But okay, let's just see what he has to say. And by the way, if you like my content, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, press the notification button, and show me and have some love. So, let's just start and see what he has to say. Wait, I know this anime. This was about a witch that actually could only do explosive magic. This was like the explosive magic was one of the worst magic you can actually do, just because someone once saved her. But okay, let's just start.
Hey, what's up guys, Rave here. So I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the various threats that might impact the quality of anime and manga as it is produced and released overseas. We are aware of things like poor localizations and bad translations, other quality control issues that might impact the quality of anime and manga as it goes out to Western markets. But there
And how it like for the only localization or the only German localization I am actually watching is Overlord, because it's fucking way funnier. Like there isn't any politics or something like that. It's just way funnier. It's just like a normal dude that actually came in shit and just does stuff he does. Like it's just super funny that way. I also had the English localization, even the Japanese one, and the Overlord. Like Al Ghul he just sounds way more brutal than the German. The German is just so fucking funny. And if you want, just hear that one out if you can, if you understand. So yeah, let's go.
There is a new push that is even more concerning, and that is a lot of pressure being exerted on Japanese studios to create and appeal their content towards a global audience with different standards than they are used to. All of these threats are something that are very real when it comes to anime and manga and their quality, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to start with this article recently released saying, Disney Plus Japan executive admits anime industry making a shift towards more acceptable expressions in order to appeal to wider audiences.
Oh my effing god, this is so bullshit. I mean, for fuck's sake, you didn't even have anything of substance there. Just this patriarchy, the politics again, like in my anime. Just F off. F off, just let me have my fucking fun. But it also infected games and it will infect anime at some point. And I just hope it won't be that bad, or that it dies out pretty quickly.
And anytime you see this language about a wider or global audience, you should be concerned. Because in the past, we would have to wait for localizations to really make the impact of how to censor and alter content coming out of Japan. But at this point, we've reached now, they are targeting the studios themselves. There's pressure being put on these studios at the ground level to make their work with an initial focus on these global audiences and global standards. And that should concern you.
Why? What executive is like a stupid fuck like that? How the fuck are you even going from, yeah, this shit actually sells well, but we have to change it because it sells well? This doesn't make any sense. Like, what the fuck? And I know I just said that, yeah, the German thing with Overlord was basically funnier to me. Because it was then something where you could say, yeah, it was funnier. It was lighthearted, and I preferred that one actually. But this was something different. It was something that actually just put the character in a new situation. It wasn't the standard of, yeah, I am a big, bad, evil guy that actually just wants to kill everyone. It was fucking funny. Like the little elf dudes, I think this was the two elf sister and brother. They kneel down and they are. He was like, "Hey, don't harm your knees because of me. Just stand up and do and sit like normally up." He was so chill. I preferred that one. But this was something different, and now like they want to do something politically correct about those things. Like, fuck off.
Greatly. Now, before we get into this article, I want to share a little Mother's Day weekend advanced GG bundle available for you guys. So in this bundle, you can purchase an ice shaker with mom right here as the label, and you can pick out one of their many different delicious flavor jars to go along with it. And if you complete that bundle, you get this free jar of sleep hibiscus, which I believe is around a $40 value. Very good stuff. And if you do this bundle, or you just want to check out other products on Advanced GG's website, of course, at checkout, use code REV to get 10% off your order. I'll put a link to all this stuff in the pinned comment.
And by the way, for those who think, why aren't I skipping this? I actually heard of some creators right now that there was just one for a while, but of some that this actually helps the creator if you watch the thing. So I'm just doing it because, well, it's still the content of, like, it's not the entire content. I mean, I am, in my opinion, I am totally fair using it, but still, if it helps the creator that actually did the video, of course I'm gonna do it. It's actually it makes sense.
So moving back to this article, Disney Plus Japan executive admits anime industry making a shift towards more acceptable expressions in order to appeal to wider audiences. Now, anytime you see this phrase wider or global audiences, you should already be concerned. And a lot of people are concerned about Disney's latest push to acquire a lot of anime licenses, because what is Disney going to do with these titles? A lot of people are concerned that they might censor or alter them. And of course, now we can cite this global or wider audience as one of the justifications they might use to alter these broadcasts. Now, also, I will point out, this shift towards more acceptable expressions is a wild phrase. Okay, it's always people who are the most gratuitous who try to come up with these wacky phrases that honestly are pretty offensive at their core. They're basically saying what's going on in Japanese media is somehow problematic and needs to be adjusted for a wider audience, aka the rest of the world or the Western sphere, right? And that's
it's basically racist. And you might say, now you're overdoing it. Acolytes, for fuck's sake, it is racist. They are literally saying that entire culture is inferior to the Western thing. Just think about it for 10 fucking seconds.
Pretty offensive thing to say. This is the type of virtue signaling, white savior type stuff you see on social media, but unfortunately now it is bled into companies like Disney Plus and Japanese studios, by the way. But continuing on into the article, it says this: in finally giving confirmation to the bitter truth that many fans of the medium already knew, Disney Plus Japan boss Takuto Yawata has admitted that the wider anime industry is actively attempting to change its core identity in an attempt to make the medium more appealing to global audiences, particularly those located in the Western world.
Yeah, and by the way, a freaking localization won't make your anime any better. Or it could make it a bit better, but if it's already shitty, a localization won't help it. If it's a good anime, well, you will always have people that actually want to watch it and will be also fanboys. And by the way, sorry for my voice, I recorded fucking 6 videos yesterday and my voice is just tired.
Now here is the problem with having such a focus on westernizing and making anime more appropriate for a global audience. It is taking away the identity of anime. Anime is different. It is unique. And that is the reason a lot of people over the decades have gravitated towards anime and manga as opposed to traditional Western media. Anime and manga is something different. It looks different. It feels different. It is just something that is refreshing for a lot of people, and that is the appeal. That is why a lot of people have gravitated towards those Japanese mediums, because it's something different. So when you're...
And by the way, also, you learn one or two things about Japanese culture by watching some, like, not every anime, of course not, but some animes actually teach you a lot of things that you could be like, oh, I'm gonna inform myself, why is this in this anime? Oh, it's because of this and this. So yeah, it's wonderful. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't wanna see Western things in an anime, because it's bullshit for the most part. It's boring. I don't want to see a fucking Karen that actually wants to destroy my fun. It's no fun.
Trying to globalize and westernize anime and manga, you are taking away what makes it unique. If these people want to make these Western styled products, then go make them. You don't have to take existing mediums and change them or try to change them at their core, which is...
Of course they have to. Why? Because they are fucking idiots. They don't have any own creativity. Those people purely function on hate, stealing, and being effing racist. And you might disagree on that with me, but think about it for 5 seconds and you will see it's the truth. Because I never seen anything good come out of freaking this type of thinking. Anywhere. And I don't care if it's the right or the left side. Never, ever. There was never ever out of this type of thinking, never. Like, there were, of course, there were some, like, I am certain there was some degree of exceptions to it. But most of the time, nothing. Most of the time, no. 9 out of, like, I would say 9,999 times of, it's not. It's nothing special.
It's happening with a lot of these Japanese studios in order to create new Western media or something for a global audience. Make something separate. Don't change something that is good, something that is different to become just like everything else. But continuing on, we've seen Capcom do this very recently. We talked about this in a recent video. They talked about their localization process and their goals. And we saw this language down here about a good localization makes players feel right at home wherever in the world they are. And I don't know about you guys, I don't want to feel at home when I'm watching anime or manga or playing a Japanese video game. I don't want to feel at home. If I wanted to feel at home, I would look out for more Western-styled pieces of media. I don't want to feel...
If you want to feel at home, you stay home, for fuck's sake.
When I'm watching the latest Magical Girl anime, I don't want it to relate to me. It's not supposed to relate to me, and it's very, very... I think, honestly, backwards to try to do this. Again, it's some sort of complex where they feel like anything going on in the Japanese media is just cannot be understood by these Western viewers, and it's very silly to tailor everything to these people who probably don't have much of an interest in it in the first place. But moving on in the article, here's the next part, in quotes from the executive saying, "What has changed compared to 10 years ago is that we used to think of the business as a set of videograms and TV broadcasts, and we used to make works for people who could buy videograms," he explained. "We were making films for people who could buy videograms. Videograms are still around today, of course, but streaming distribution has become more common, and the target audience is no longer limited to the domestic market. The rise of streaming distribution is why it spread globally. It is playing a very large role as a communication tool for users around the world, and I believe that Japanese animation is still in the process of evolving." Of course, everything is in the process of evolving, but at what point does this evolution become just an inherent change at the core? And that's what it seems like with all these pushes. It seems like a push to change these forms of Japanese media at their core so they are immediately appealing to a global audience. They don't even have to wait for the localizations to change something. They want it changed right at the start. And that should concern you. And again, this idea that streaming distribution helped bring anime out into the forefront on a global audience. Well, that is true, but that doesn't mean it now has to change itself for that global audience.
And by the way, Lord of the Rings. I find them okay, but I'm not that big of a fan. What I prefer is Lord of the Weed. If you know that little classic. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. If you know Lord of the Weed, if you don't, just watch it once. I prefer that. So what did I do? Did I bitch around? Did I cry around? Did I say, no, you have to cater to me, purely to... No, of course not. I just don't watch it. Do I like the freaking universe? Fuck yeah. I love the Lord of the Ring universe. I just dislike the film. But will I go around and be like, I mean, I don't dislike it, sorry about that. I don't find it that, like, entertaining to me, personally. But am I going around and spewing negative stuff just because I don't like it? Of course not. I'm just going to the media I like. And that's something that most of people, like, I don't get why people don't get it. Either do your own media or look for media that actually is fun for you.
It reached out and expanded into a global audience because people found it endearing. They found it interesting, something different. That's why they liked anime and manga. Now you want to turn around and change it to be just like everything else on the global market, which takes away from the uniqueness of this various examples of Japanese media.
Yes.
And we've seen studios like Kadokawa totally embrace this. It's been going on for years. This is nothing new. They have made it very clear in public statements that they have an overseas first policy when it comes to creating their products. And we've seen some of the results in many different forms, but the most recent one was the ReZero Season 3 teaser that featured a lot of censorship of various outfits from the manga as opposed to the new anime trailer here. And before, the weirdos on Twitter say something, they're like, aha, see, they censored the outfits, they gotcha. Well, okay, well, they're still pretty exposed. But the fact that they felt it necessary to...
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't even know this thing, but... As I once said, I prefer more modest clothing. I find it nicer. If you don't, that's fine. But this is what got recommended. This is why people watch it. And even I personally disagree with this. That doesn't mean it should be catered to me just because I don't like it. I don't give a fuck. I just won't watch this stuff.
Censor these at all in the first place is exactly why this push for a global audience is something that is actually having an impact. And we saw that reflected in the comments of the character designer for ReZero Season 3 saying, this isn't limited to ReZero, but in order to deliver to many countries, there are broadcast codes for each country, and in order to reach many people, the people on the set are working hard to deliver the best possible content within the many restrictions.
Yeah, and by the way, how are you even supposed to cater to everyone? That's effing impossible. If you cater to everyone, you basically cater to no one. You do your stuff, and if people like it, they're gonna tell you that they like it, and they're gonna follow you. Just like with some acolytes that actually follow me. Am I the shit? Well, no. But there are some people that like me, and I'm just continuing doing the stuff that I want to do. And this is how it should be.
And that is something that probably confuses some people because there's multiple layers of issues here, but they seem very intertwined. So on the one hand, you have these like moral attempts at censorship where companies are being pressured into changing these things because outside forces are telling them X, Y, and Z is bad and you should change that. And then there's regulatory requirements that are also exerting censorship and also making some studios impose self-censorship to avoid getting their broadcast cut off in certain regions of the world. Now, if those things sound similar, it's because they are. They're very intertwined. It's all about morality, and whether it's in code or just spoken as a office directive, these things are all aimed at censoring Japanese media that these global audiences are finding morally offensive or what have you. Now, moving forward in the article, we get the main quote here. So it says, in turn, the Disney executive opined, I don't think there's been any major shift. The fundamental storytelling, the precision of the action has not changed, but there may have been a shift towards adopting more acceptable expressions. Like I said earlier in the video, the idea of an acceptable expression is offensive on its face. It is
The question that you should actually ask yourself, why is it acceptable in the culture you're saying it's not acceptable? Not acceptable. What is the reasoning behind it?
It is saying blatantly that whatever this Japanese media is, in whatever form it is, there has to be some sort of an acceptable expression that is shared to the rest of the world. That this needs to be censored and altered in ways to remove all of these icky things coming out of this Japanese media that the global audience would never accept. And that is very offensive, and it's a moral grandstanding point. And we've seen this also with payment processors. We've talked about that in the past, where it seems like MasterCard and Visa, they clamp down the hardest on Japanese companies, whether it's art platforms or studios, what have you. They pull their services and threaten these companies unless they remove typically not safe for work content or just generally lewd content. And it seems like they clamp down the hardest on Japanese companies. And when it comes
I don't know about this stuff this much, but wouldn't, like, for a new credit company, would it now be the time to actually do it? I mean, and I'm just saying that from a standpoint that I have no fucking clue how this entire thing works, and it's definitively not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. So I think there is some things there, but wouldn't you just start a freaking credit company right now? Or are there anything like bigger stops to it? Because I don't know, but it sounds like after the big guys actually threatened to cut off some people, would it be like now to say, oh, this is my chance of entering here? Maybe this is the time where I'm gonna drop my towel in the ring. But as I said, I don't know shit about this, so probably not. Probably there are certainly some very good reason nobody did it by now, or somebody did it and nobody knows because we're small company, upstarter. Nobody actually knows of them, so I just don't know enough about it.
When it comes to Western counterparts, they are left alone. And it seems very, very strange. There seems to be a moral crusade against Japanese companies. It's really Japanese media and Japanese culture as a whole.
That's
and I think it's totally masked off at this point. I don't think anyone is trying to hide it, and it's becoming a real issue. Now,
it's becoming actually acceptable to be racist against Japanese people or Asian people, like on the big part. Like, it's just, I'm thinking about it just funny. It's not funny. It's shit. But it's like, yeah, you fucking enemies are getting picked here for some reason.
From that article, I also saw this. Just really quickly want to share this. So, Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max will be offered in a new packaged bundle this summer in the US. Disney and Warner Bros. Discovery has announced. So here's the thing. It's starting to sound like, what's that thing? Cable TV. At this point, there are so many bundles like this. It's starting to sound like it's all going back to the fundamentals of cable TV with all these networks joining together in one station. It's very strange. And also I bring this up because if you want to watch certain anime, especially if it has multiple seasons or it's been owned by multiple studios, you might need multiple subscriptions to various streaming platforms just to complete the entire franchise. And I think the most ridiculous example is always Pokemon, right? If you want to watch the complete Pokemon anime, I think you have to have something like 20 plus paid subscriptions to various streaming.
What the fuck? Really? I didn't know that. Damn.
Networks. It's absolutely insane. And despite the fact some of these are consolidating and becoming bundles, doesn't make it much better. And honestly, it's getting more and more expensive and making it harder for people to access these things in the first place. But moving on, I want to talk about the other threat to the distribution of anime and manga overseas, and that has to do with translations. And in this case, a very interesting post that has been generating a lot of conversation. So here's the translation saying, the English translation of Kengan is a bit unique. So we decided to leave it up to a group of amateurs who translated without permission and uploaded it illegally. Their translation was far better than the official one. It would be pretty bad if they used the official version. No one would read it, and I think there have been many works that didn't go over well overseas because of translation issues. I wonder how that would be with AI. So basically what this post is saying is that the Kengan translation, the English translation, was really shoddy. The official one was really shoddy. And as it turns out, this is the result of this Japanese studio using AI translation without any sort of checks and balances on it. And the author of Kengan saw some unofficial, illegal works where people were translating this as fans, and that product was better than the official translations. And the author said, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the fan translations over these official ones because they're better quality, which I think is a crazy thing. And some people have been saying, hey, this is a big own on the localizers, but I don't think this really has anything to do with localizers yet in this situation. This is a quality control issue on the ground where these companies are using translations, AI translations, and typically they're getting away with it because the companies that they're giving it back to, they don't even know it's poor quality. Luckily, in this case, the author here does speak English and understands that those AI translations, the official ones, were poor quality because of the AI. And of course, they saw the unofficial ones and said, hey, this is better quality. This will be better for the audience. So we're going to go with that. Now, a lot of people also brought up this post in relation to the previous one, where there is apparently a manga AI localization startup company that somehow secured $19 million to translate up to 500 new manga volumes per month into English. And this is a crazy situation. Some people are excited about this. Some people are very mad about this. I think overall this is just a symptom of the many issues involving the translation and localization of Japanese media. This is what happens when you provide for so long shoddy translations and terrible and irresponsible localizations. You're going to end up with a solution like this. And maybe it's not the best solution, but the fact that this is getting supported should tell you there is some major problems with the localization and translation of anime and manga into English. This is a very big problem. And again, my take with AI is that it's great if it's something that replaces something that's not available. I worded that very poorly, but basically what I'm saying is if there is a Japanese manga out there and there is no English translation anywhere, and it's never going to happen, at least you have the AI translation. But this shouldn't be the next step. The problem is, the reason people didn't feel bad for localizers is that they have been abusing their position as localizers to inject all kinds of nonsense into their translations. So that's why nobody felt bad for them when they're losing their jobs to AI. However, you can also recognize that AI is not the perfect solution. The perfect solution is having accurate and honest translations. Unfortunately, a lot of studios are cheap or have limited resources, and they don't take the time or the necessary resources to provide these good translations into English. And it's a very difficult problem. That's something that won't be solved by me yapping in this video. This is a very systemic, bigger issue, but there's a lot at play here. There's issues on the translation level, and there's issues on the localization level. And here's some of the proposed solutions to this. And look at the support it got. $19 million of funding for this project. That is insane. But for now, that is going to do it for this video. Obviously, a lot of controversial topics today. So, as always, feel free to share your thoughts about them in the comment section down below. Hope you guys...
Thank you, Rev. Thank you for watching, and acolytes, good night.